And welcome to the latest and greatest from Step Brother Sports. So we kept you waiting, huh? It's been exactly 1 month since we last joined y'all, and we are happy to be back. Uh, again, we are a part of the Hockey Podcast Network and the Bills Mafia Buffalo fan base platform. Make sure to subscribe to our socials on all our platforms at CFMAZ for me or him at SB the Don, NHL, or on YouTube at Step Brother Sports. Like the video, rate, review, and do all those other great things to help the show grow. And like I said, folks, it has been a minute. We are happy to return to you. Like I said, after a month away from content creation, wasn't anything particularly bad, of course. Just work stuff, life events, and it just didn't really make it conducive to doing shows. And obviously, we were completely dialed into the entire Sabres playoff run. When we last spoke, they were just coming off the Bruins series victory. So, but ultimately, a lot to unpack from their playoff run as well. But tonight, we have a great show lined up with a first-time guest, which we're really happy to have on and here to join us. So he is a staple of Sabres Twitter and always posting vintage Sabres photos, some Rick Jeanneret vintage shots as well, and just spreading good vibes and positivity into the social media airwaves because we certainly do not have enough of that. So please welcome to the show from Sabres Fun Stats, Mark Prelowitz.
How's it going, guys?
Let's go.
Yes.
So, Mark.
Thank you.
Yes, it is a pleasure to have you on. When you reached out, I was flattered because, again, I've always enjoyed the content that you're posting. You're doing like which photo is better, typically with a lot of good vintage stuff from anywhere from like the origins of the team from the 70s and onward. And you're just unearthing some real gems out there, too. So, again, really a big pleasure to have you on with us, Mark.
No, thanks, guys. It's great to be here and getting out to some more Sabres fans and seeing what's going on your end.
Awesome. Yeah. And since you're a first-time guest for us, what we always like to do is, and I kind of set you up for this just off camera and even just ahead of time too, we like to go into people's origins in sports, whether it was your playing career if you had one, covering it, whether it's from a professional standpoint or a personal one if you're just doing a social media side. Obviously, you've been on your platform, Sabres Fun Stats, for a number of years. But just kind of go into like your origins, like maybe just the first days of you watching sports, why you got into it, or just why you're doing what you're doing. So feel free to get rolling on that, Mark. The floor is yours.
Growing up in Buffalo, growing up in Tonawanda, everything was our family was very into sports. I'm the youngest of five, so I got a chance to sit around and listen to some of the old timers when they would talk about all the old Sabres and Bills, Buffalo sports. That it was always Bills and Sabres. We were more of a football family. Me and my two brothers, played football. We all played college football, and so we never actually played any organized hockey. Just wasn't a thing for us to do in Tonawanda. So it was we were a football family, and like I said, as the youngest, if I had to keep up with like I said, the older guys in the neighborhood talking about some of the old players. I had to know who some of these old players were. So it was always interesting to me to make sure I knew who Jerry Korab and Jim Schoenfeld were, even though I didn't really see a lot of them actually play. I was always trying to keep up with those guys there. And, starting the account was, sitting in my basement watching every game, and during the drought when there was not a lot of fun things going on, to watching the Sabres. And what happened was, I should have gone back and looked at which game it was, but there was a game where someone on the Sabres got their 100th point. And at that time for me, it was when Hockey Reference was, at least for me, was just starting, and I just knew about Hockey Reference. So while I'm sitting there, watching the paint dry of a game, I decided to pull up Hockey Reference on my phone, and I just wanted to see, how many actual Sabres had 100 points. So I started scrolling through the names, and as I started looking through the names, I just started like, wow, I saw the names. I said, wow, I remember that guy. I remember when this guy scored a goal. I remember when this guy got in a fight with so and so, and I just started going through the names, and I started smiling, and I was having fun watching the game and going through the names and bringing back those memories. So I said, you know what, maybe other people would enjoy that too. So it kept me interested as like I said, as you guys know, during those times in the 2018 season, there was not a really lot going on to
Right.
sit through the game. And that kept me really interested in it, and got on a group chat or a group Twitter kind of family deal. A couple people added me to their account or to their chat, and they got me in there, and they started liking it and retweeting my stuff, and then it just kind of kept growing from there. But yeah, it started from the dark times of those games, and just not having a lot of fun watching the games, and seeing those names, and then eventually looking up all those pictures, put a smile on my face to watch the games.
Hey, finding some bright spots out of the darkest of times in the middle of the drought. Hey, all the credit to you, because again, a lot of the Sabres fandom needed that for prolonged periods of time too. So again, really appreciate all that you're doing with that too.
Well, it was interesting, because then it was, I started looking up when someone scored and how many goals they had or how many assists they had. But the problem that I found was they weren't really scoring a lot then. So I kind of was sitting around a little bit, and then eventually I said, well, every game somebody's playing their next game and they're moving up the list somehow. So I started doing the games played, before the game started, because before every game someone's moving up somewhere, and if I just waited for a goal to be scored, I'm going to be probably waiting for a while.
Right. Absolutely. Well, one thing, Mark, whenever we have a new guest on for the first time, like Chris alluded to, like kind of hear a little bit about your background, but I always like to do kind of a quick degrees of separation segment. And, obviously we have, the similar, growing up in Western New York, we have that in common. But it's funny. I like what you had mentioned earlier about being from the town and doing the thing with stats. So I got one for you. So neither Chris or I, unfortunately, played any type of competitive hockey growing up. But, my mom, who's an avid listener of our show, and she could attest to this. There was a lot of times where I grew up in DPU where I'd just be like out there, first of all, I was that kid that Rick Jeanneret talked about, like when he was doing his sign-offs in his later years on the broadcast about the kids that would listen to their Sony Walkman. Well, I had a Sony Walkman, but like trying to listen to games, like we didn't have cable growing up. So you had to listen to GR, like 550, at the time, to listen to games. And I was like already supposed to be in bed as probably like a 5-6-year-old kid. I've said many times that the Sabres were definitely my first love, like compared to the Bills. So that's just kind of who we were. But because of that, and like the great calls that Rick would do, I was that kid out there, like playing like street hockey, even by myself, just shooting on like an open net, wearing like the blades in the driveway, just like calling my own play-by-play. So we have that. But then also a little bit later on, and I said this in the previous episode too, like when we were in high school age. So that was like, middle school and earlier age. When we were in high school, I talked about this when we had, I forget who it was. Chris, you'll know. But we had, was it Travis Yost? It was Travis Yost on.
Yeah, we had Travis Yost earlier in the year. Yes,
we had Travis Yost on. And I remember skipping school on trade deadline day, like probably like sophomore, junior, senior year, like on like Hockey Buzz and on like some of those different like websites, like trying to see who was like leaking the trades for us. That's before Twitter existed or X. But still, I was the same way as you, man. I was a junkie. I used to watch any sports that I could get on basic cable, like a random ABC broadcast of NBA, and I'd be like writing on like a notepad as a little kid, like the stats. I don't even know what I was doing. I was like basically keeping a box score without even knowing what it was. But yeah, the stats always just kind of fascinated me. So we have that, kind of in common, and spent a lot of time in Iowanda Park. Growing up, Chris, obviously, you grew up there too at his house. I think Dwayne, our buddy Dwayne, I believe lives actually in Tonawanda at this point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's just like, it's I love to hear and meet different people from the town that we haven't had the chance of like crossing paths with yet, and to kind of also get a new, stat analytical type of background about this crazy season that I know
Right.
Chris Maz wants to kind of get into as we're just kind of wrapping up here. So,
but yeah,
I mean, go ahead, Chris. Yeah.
No, I was gonna just kind of piggyback off what Sean was saying too. Like the biggest thing we want to obviously start off with is just like how you took in this past season, Mark, because again, this was one that was a season that nobody saw coming. I mean, there are a lot of really unforgettable moments to Kevin Adams' firing, to the 10-game win streak, the first one, of course, but then another like multi-game win streak, the Tampa Bay game with the 8-7 game, the clinching of the playoff spots. I mean, so many awesome things to look back, the playoffs themselves. I mean, just give me like just some immediate takeaways from what you had on the season as a whole, and even some favorite moments that you can just kind of think back finally. It doesn't even need to be one of like those bigger moments as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm one of those fans that goes in each year with I guess some optimism. Like, all right, this is maybe not we're going to win the Stanley Cup or anything, but I always go into a year with some optimism. And Lindy's back for the second center in the second year, and all right, maybe they're going to actually listen to him and run his system. Didn't start out great. And then hearing the rumblings, what was it in December, about Kevin Adams, and I think they went out and they won like 3 in a row, the last 3 on the road, that one road trip, and then he got fired when they came back, which I took it as they kind of already knew what was happening, and
right.
The I guess the breath of fresh air when that went down, and then going on that run. Yeah, that was great. That the 10 games or whatever that was, and that was great. But it's something we'd seen before. So and I know the other one, the few years back wasn't as impressive with all the overtime wins that happened in that other 10-game win streak, and then not making
another one from that 2018-19 season.
That one just felt lucky. That one just felt lucky.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And they seemed like they were actually turning into a good team. So that started to get, to me, that started to get pretty exciting. Like, all right, things are happening, and and I know that I noticed a huge uptick in my interactions with people on Twitter once that after that 10-game stretch, and people started kind of believing and noticed a lot more interactions that way. And then the things started rolling, and like, all right, no, they are good. They are a good team, and there are always questions with the goalies, and like, hey, it's working, so keep going with it. And I mean, I always thought, Lindy's been through all these things before. He knows what he's doing. He knows the buttons to push. He's been through pretty much everything you can go through as a coach in the NHL. So, I mean, if anybody's seen it, he has. And I mean, I think that my favorite part would have been, leading up to them clinching a playoff spot. Like, knowing everyone's saying, well, it's going to happen. They're whatever on the, on the website's 99.6% to make the playoffs. But I was still feeling a little uneasy about that. Not ready to kick back and, put that X next to their name yet. And I think, thinking about it, earlier today, that day, that they clinched, it was a Saturday afternoon.
Exactly. Yeah. And it wasn't even the Sabres themselves were the reasons why they totally clinched. Like, it was inevitable. Yes. But it was like the Rangers beating Detroit, I think, was the one to actually do it.
The Rangers in the afternoon. And I remember it was they were playing Washington later that night, and it was a Saturday night. So I was kind of preparing, almost like tailgating for, like a Bills game. Like, what am I going to make for Saturday night? Go buy a bottle of champagne or something, which I did. Yep. And I actually have some college friends that live in the DC area, and they're Caps fans. And we had a couple wagers on that game. because they're going to clinch tonight. They're going to beat the Caps. They're going to clinch, and then all of a sudden, when I didn't expect the Rangers to beat Detroit because they were still fighting for a spot too.
Right.
Mm-hmm. What a collapse!
And then when the Rangers won, I quickly texted these guys, let's hold off on those bets because I saw that letdown coming, and but who cares at that point? And they clinched, and I didn't think there was any way that they were gonna come out flying that night, which is fine. And they ended up losing that game, but it was that day was I mean, yeah, I popped the champagne and got things going. That was definitely the best part of the season for me.
So as it should be, of course. I mean, just the fact that it's literally 15 calendar years, and now finally, like, it wasn't exactly like, oh, we got to the promised land, because that would obviously mean winning the Stanley Cup, but just being a part of the greater NHL like circle as a whole, as opposed to being an afterthought, I thought was just so monumental for the franchise, for Terry Pegula, for
fan
Lindy Ruff
came
himself.
right back.
Oh yeah,
we knew they would.
Like they never left. I mean, obviously, like the diehards, like you and I and Sean, and so many others, never left. I mean, just watching every single game, no matter what, but just seeing how it was just always embedded in everybody all along. And then as soon as that happened, it just, like Sean was saying, immediate outpouring of support.
Right.
I thought it was truly special to see it once again.
It's a hockey town, man. It's a hockey town. I think first and foremost, even compared to the Bills and obviously the Josh Allen era, they've had lots of success. But look at that, just 1 year of just breaking that drought. I would argue that the Sabres hype was just as much. And hey, one thing, Mark, I wanted to ask you and Chris, you as well. Someone chimed in, and obviously I have to talk a little bit about my guy back here. You mentioned Lindy pushing those buttons, and they said he did it quite well. What's up with the coaching of the year snubbing? What do you guys think about that?
So, I mean, it's embarrassing.
Take it away, Mark. Yeah, take it away.
I mean, I think it's embarrassing. I don't, not that he didn't win, but then when I saw the list, the votes,
right,
and there was I forget the number of people that didn't even put Lindy on their ballot. Right. For first, second, or third. Not even first, second, or third, which is that.
Right. What are they watching? What are they watching?
Or did they vote in December or January even?
It could be.
Right. That was the embarrassing part. Not that it was close and everyone kind of had the same 2 or 3 guys on their ballot. To not have him on the ballot on some of your ballots at all. It was that's the most embarrassing part.
Oh, completely. I mean,
totally agree.
I was on, like I was telling you guys earlier, Ryan Thomas's podcast, also part of the Buffalo fan base platform. Shout out to Ryan. Had a great time on a show last night. He and I were just kind of going into the weeds on that too, of course, to start his show. And it's just to kind of rehash a bit. It just felt like a lifetime achievement of an award for John Cooper, more so than it actually was something deserved. And I compared it to the year Josh Allen won his MVP, where a lot of people were criticizing him of that. But you could also compare it to Lamar Jackson the year before for his back-to-back MVP or his second MVP rather. His stats were lesser than what Allen had for that 2024 season. And so many people were just up in arms, kind of doing the same thing, saying oh, he didn't deserve it. Lamar Jackson put it. Well, again, you're looking at the body of work and just again, apples and oranges, the Bills and the Sabres here. But Lindy's body of work this year for breaking the playoff drought, getting the team over the hump into the playoffs, winning a playoff series. I mean, escaping from the depths of the Eastern Conference, winning the Atlantic Division, and just doing so much to really put goodwill back into all things hockey in Western New York. And then John Cooper just big loss after big loss, whether it was in the Olympics, whether it was him squandering the division lead in the Eastern Conference, or just the way he watched his players just conduct themselves in the middle of games, and how he let them get so undisciplined with some of their cheap shot penalties and things of that nature, and how he just refused to really take personal blame for anything. It was always somebody else's fault, like a literal penalty boxed or or something, other ridiculous things that he didn't look inward. And I felt like he was just trying to project on other things. What it was like, oh, it wasn't my fault we lost. It was this or that. And it just, yes, he's a good coach. He's a Stanley Cup winning coach. The pedigree is there. He's consistently one of the better coaches out there, but he did it with, once again, a team full of all-stars and a Vezina candidate goalie. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like it's so hard to justify what was done this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean, go ahead.
It wasn't even, I was going to say also, like, with all that being said, I understand, like, there's always like the different narratives and like these leagues. Like I've been outspoken before about teams like of course Toronto won the first pick. Like of course they did when they're about to gut their team potentially and trade away some of their franchise players. Like the leagues, NHL, NFL, they play favorites to the large markets. And Buffalo is definitely one of them in hockey for sure. But it's just, dude, it's just crazy. It's crazy to see that out of all the years, I would argue that this is probably like he deserved to win. This is probably his worst coaching job, though, out of any of the last like 5 years. Like, so it just goes to show you that, like they're going to play their favorites and narratives sometimes, may or may not win. But it's like, dude, I feel like Lindy just got robbed this year so bad because he really did an amazing job. And I hope that it puts a big chip on his shoulder, which I think it will. He just got a new contract. Things couldn't be better and brighter for the Sabres, like as far as like where they're at.
Yeah, and I think in the end, would it have been great for Lindy to win? Sure, but in the end, let's go back and let's get in the playoffs again and go on another run. I mean, I don't want to get too crazy about it because 2-0 Vegas. 2-0.
That's
we need
a
some
tough
goals.
look. Tough look for Carolina.
Yeah.
Got over 5 goals in that game.
But in the end, let's just go back and get back in the playoffs and keep things going. Like don't all of a sudden just be this one year deal. Let's keep it going. And I'm sure, it probably stings for Lindy a little bit, but like you said, a chip on his shoulder, and he just wants to get back to it.
And I could also see Ryan Thomas and I were talking about this last night. If it gets to a point where like the Sabres are able to like get a few wins over the Lightning again this year. That was another thing. Like the Sabres beat the Lightning 3 out of 4 times, and the fourth game was the first one. It was an overtime win. But still, if the Sabres get the Lightning's number next year, I could 100% see Lindy having like a snarky comment saying like, oh, how's that Jack Adams treating you right now? He's been a little cheeky with some of his comments, I feel like, in the last couple of years. So I could see something
he doesn't
like
care.
Coming.
He's not worried about ruffling feathers anymore.
No, he's gonna do that. Yeah, and, like you said, little snarky comments, and he knows, and he knows how to say it the right way. So it, you don't necessarily actually say it, but we know what he's talking about.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, I mean, so much you could say on that one. Obviously, like you saw the polling for the Norris Trophy consideration goes to Zach Werenski. Rasmus Dahlin finishes third on that one.
Well deserved. I mean,
for sure for Zach Werenski. Like by no means was I expecting Dahlin to win it because again, when you're going up against someone like Werenski and Cale Makar for that matter, like Dahlin, him still being in the top 3, like goes to show you like the level of player he's become. Especially after all he overcame.
The narrative. Yeah, the narrative helped him. You know what? And I told this, Mark, I'd like to hear your opinion. I told Chris Maz this. I said, I did expect Lindy to get the Adams Award, but I will be more shocked if Dahlin doesn't get the Masterson Trophy. As like that, Perseverance Award. Like, come on.
I mean, if that doesn't happen,
then
the conspiracy theorists that might be on to something. If that didn't think the Norris was coming in. That's fine. But the Masterson. If Masterson doesn't come, that's then we got to start. Calling some people and
who do we piss off? Who did the front office piss off? Yeah.
Right. Or it was like one last like parting shot from Kevin Adams to make some more misery, of course, right? But getting into more off-season stuff, Mark, I wanted to kind of get your takes on some of these things as well, just because they are really ramping up as far as like being discussed on the radio, like WGR, on other content creators, shows and podcasts and things of that nature. But the biggest question, obviously, is the Alex Tuch situation. So He has pending UFA status as of July 1st, less than a month away. Earlier on in the year, it was considered for him to be maybe asking for something in the ballpark of Adrian Kempe's contract, about $10.5 million plus. If he does indeed stay with the Sabres, like the Sabres have the 8th year to have as a leg up on other people, just based on the new collective bargaining that was done with the Players Association. But the thing is, the Sabres this year are very limited in salary cap space. I mean, unless you're looking to offload some of the other contracts that are on the teams or make a few trades and deals for maybe some players that maybe underperform or getting a little bit overpaid. I mean, initially, just straight from the gut, like, what are your thoughts on the Alex Tuch situation? Should the Sabres bring him back, or better yet, if it was you making the decision, would you personally do it just right off the bat?
I mean, I think everybody knows that it's got to be the right number. I mean, I don't think they need to overpay for Alex Tuch, and I don't think they're gonna. I think they have a number, and they're going to be, they're going to be set on their number. And should he come back? I mean, that'd be great, but I'm not. I don't want to go into 11 or whatever he was asking before.
Right.
Higher than the 10 or 10.5. I don't think. And again, they have their number, they have their value that they put on them and what they want to do. My thought back, a couple of weeks or a couple months ago, my original thought was that Tuch would resign at that number that they wanted him to, and that Norris would be gone. Yeah. Norris would be traded, and right. Opening up that money. Whether then it was, well, somebody's got to go with Norris for the Robert Thomas deal, revisiting that again. That was has been my original thought. Obviously gone back for it, but going back to my original one was Tuch would resign, and then Norris would be gone. Yeah. Now the biggest question is, well, who's going to go with him? Is it Ostlund? Is it Consta? Is it
I hope not.
that's the next question. And again, yeah. I trust Jarmo. I mean that yeah. They have a plan. They know, and they have the contingencies off of the plan. I don't think that they're sitting there going, all right, well, we got Tuch signed. We know where his number is. We know what we're going to do with that. And then all of a sudden, July 1st, no, he's not signing. And then they're like, well, oh, shoot, we got to go back to the drawing board. They know what they're doing. They have all the contingencies ready. I think maybe maybe not, though. And I know in Sabres fans' minds, the whole playoffs has probably changed their minds about Constas and Ostlund. So before, I'm sure everyone would have been putting them into packages, but after the playoffs, I don't think people are really ready to do that now. Whether the team's ready to do that still, because maybe they had that for the Robert Thomas deal back when that was going on. Right. Are the recency bias gonna take over, or are you gonna stick to your guns and stick to your plan? That's that's what we got to wait and see. That's why these things are so great, because they know, but we don't know, and it's fun to just kind of sit back and say, all right, let's see what happens.
Right. 2 points to that, and I want to ask you guys a question. We got a great question in the comments here. I think, like, my opinion on that is, if you're getting a Robert Thomas, a level of a player that's like what we'd all consider to be like a 1C, like an actual 1C, that doesn't have like the issues of like a Norris with the injuries, I can be convinced to include one of those guys. But like, man, the way that Austin played down the stretch, it sucked that he got hurt. We didn't get to see him perform in the playoffs. But the way that Hellenius just came in, stepped right in.
Helen Use.
Sorry, I know. I got it.
Helen Use.
Helen Use.
That's why I said Consta. That's why.
Consta. Yeah, I'm gonna take a page out of your book, Mark. I like that. But yeah, man, the way that he just like stepped in, and also too like doubled down with, like, shout out to him winning the gold medal in the World Championships, playing on the top line with their captain, bro. Like, yeah, there's two Sabres now back to back. We get in the golden goal. But man, he was arguably one of their best players. He got the golden goal. I don't know that I want to include him in a package. Like, the fact that he was that good at the highest stage that we're going to see in the Stanley Cup playoffs, like, I don't think you're including any of those guys. Maybe you consider trading one of them. I mean, at this point, because maybe recency bias, Kulik is the guy that you probably fans will look to maybe move. But again,
then people are going to balk at the blood clotting issue. So
listen, I understand that. So his value might be a little bit lower right now, but I'm just saying you could convince me to trade one of those big three centers and or Murtka for a legit 1C coming back. But to that point, we got a great question. What was your ideal Alex Tuch signing look like? And I have a thought about that. And then also, great point here. Detroit, Larkin, moves of the day, puts in an actual trade request. Not surprised. They're exactly. We have a chat with a lot of the guys, the hockey guys. We're like, yeah, they're where Buffalo was somehow. Like they've taken an obvious step back. They were ahead of the Sabres in the standings,
and they are now the leaders in the
like,
clubhouse of a playoff drought themselves. So I think they're now at 10 years.
They are. So I'd love to ask you guys. This is a great question from someone here in the chat. I'll go first because I have that on top of my mind. For me, I would love if I was, armchair GM, if I was Yarmo, I'm happy with giving Tuch, I'd give him 10. I would love to give him 9.5, but you know what I care more about is the term. I would love to give him, I don't even know if they do this in hockey, but like a 3-year deal with a club option for 4, where you know what I mean? That's what I would do in a perfect world.
He's not going to take that though.
I know.
Right.
Well, and that's kind of my point, that it's been great. But we got these guys ready to take your spot. So I think they're between a rock and a hard place. And hey, man, Mark, maybe that's why there hasn't been a deal.
Well, I mean, he's earned the right to see what's going to happen. So I
100%.
mean, I didn't think he was going to sign before he went actually, can see all the other deals.
Right.
And go ahead and do 8 years and honest. I mean, I'm not the GM, and I don't have to worry about this. But go ahead and take the 8 years. Yeah, are the last 5 or 4 going to be bad? I guess, quote, bad, because he's going to be over the hill. Yeah. Probably, sure, but that's what happens. But for the next 3 years, he's going to be playing at that level, and we're going to the playoffs and trying to win the Stanley Cup, and we'll worry about that in the last 3 or 4 years of the deal and buyouts and the cap's going up and all that. That's
true.
He's
a Buffalo kid. It makes it harder. He's a Buffalo kid because you want to just give him whatever,
Right. Like you guys were saying, the cap's going to skyrocket in these next few years. I think it's going to go up substantially next year and the year after. And I think
we got great contracts.
All the sports betting money that continues to get poured into hockey, as well as all the other big major sports. I mean, that's only going to enhance the salary cap for the NHL going forward, because they were just stuck on a fixed and frozen cap rate for so long, limited to what you could do move wise. So, I mean, I've listened to a lot of different takes. Right. I've listened to a lot of different takes for what you could do. I mean, the most recent one I heard was the Baker Fairburn hockey show, where Matthew Fairburn himself, he was saying like he thinks they should pursue it. I mean, if you're able to make the money work, of course, because he thinks Alex Tuch's game will age gracefully, especially being like a penalty killer, maybe like a grinder of sorts. Don't necessarily have to keep him on that first line or maybe even second line, of course, but like just the shorthanded capabilities that he's able to do. I mean, that's going to age pretty well, well as just his defensive style of play as a forward. So, I mean,
Chris Maz, what would you do? What's your ideal contract if you're the GM? What do you do?
I mean, if there, I'm going to give two ways you can do this. If they are able to pull it off, they have to front load or give some type of bonus up front so you could reduce the amount on the salary cap for the year. There's a way you could maximize, I think, somewhere in the range of like 40, somewhere. I don't remember the exact number.
It's like what Bean does. It's what Bean does.
Sure, but like in hockey, there's only so much flexibility you can do with that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, personally, I don't think he's going to sign. I think he's going to walk. I think he's going to go somewhere out west. I think some team like Seattle is going to way overpay him because his wife is from out that way. Right. I mean, in a perfect world, like you find a way to make the money work, but there's just in the immediate short term, you got Zach Benson coming up. Kekalainen himself has said that he wants to keep Bo Byram long term. I'm not sure if he's waxing poetic, of course, or if that's something he truly wants to do.
I'm sure that's true.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's true.
But yeah, both of those are like, that's easy to think about that way. But you also have. Oh, go ahead.
If Tuck doesn't sign, do you still trade Norris?
If you're getting a 1C back.
If you're getting the 1C back, but then you also, like, in theory, because we talked about already, Norris has the injury concerns. You're going to sweeten the pot with one of those 3 young centers, maybe a first-round pick, and I mean, not to like totally empty the cupboards, or if it's not one of the young centers, maybe it's Mertka, but like it's some combination of that to get that elite playmaker in return. But like, just to kind of talk a little bit more about this year's salary cap, because next year they're sitting pretty. They're going to be flush with cap space. I mean, this year alone, you have Peyton Krebs, you got Beck Mallenstein, Kesselring, he's up as an RFA. I know there's a handful of others, but you have so many of your own that you would want to consider bringing back. Like Mallenstein, I absolutely would want to lock up for another 3 years.
Give him a raise.
You also have other questions like, do you want to keep UPL? Like that $4.5 million could be used elsewhere. I mean, a lot of people have opinions on Jordan Greenway. He's making $3+ million per year. I mean, a lot of people could be balking at Jason Zucker's money, Jack Quinn's money. I mean, say what you will, you can have an argument to keep all of them, but you could also have an argument for trading each of them as well. So if you're really trying to make this cap space, available, like, you got to ask yourself these questions, because ultimately, as much as everybody loved the season, like, you can't ultimately run it back with the same players, just because, one, you can't afford it, and two, like, there needs to be some way to shake up this roster. Mark, what are your initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be exactly the same, but I mean, I think that these discussions and these I don't want to say arguments, but these discussions are a good thing, because, you know, we're not sitting here saying, oh my God, we got to find someone who can score, because we can't score. We can't stop the puck. We can't, you know, we're terrible on defense. So, like, now we're saying we got, you know, great centers that we don't want to hold back, or great young players. So, I mean, to me, it's exciting, because, you know, we're not just sitting on our hands going, you know, what are we going to do? You know, we need someone who's going to score. We got to go overpay for someone. They don't have to overpay for people anymore. Right. So, I mean, I think it's a good thing to have. And, you know, going back and forth, you know, eventually I'm the type of guy that always will eventually say, well, you know what, you know, they're going to do what they're going to do, whether I yell and scream on Twitter about it or not, or I pound my fist and say, I want this guy, I want that guy. They're eventually just going to do what they're going to do, and I'm going to watch and cheer for them either way. So,
yeah, sure.
That's fair. And especially now, like, where many were thinking when Kevin Adams was still the GM, like, you were wondering if they were going to do any move at all. Whereas now, Jarmo Kekalainen, who has a history of being so much more aggressive, like, you got to think some move of some kind is going to happen. I mean, he tried swinging for the fences twice with the Blues, once for obviously Robert Thomas, at least rumored, the Colton Parayko one, which ultimately got shot down just because of his no movement clause. I mean, again, respect to the guy. He didn't even speak ill of Buffalo. Again, like, the dude's just got an established life. He has that right in his contract to do so. Like, no shame. And then lastly, he even just made the trade to get Logan Stanley, Luke Shen, and Tanner Pearson in Buffalo, along with the why am I drawing a blank? Oh my God. He was one of my favorite acquisitions. Sam Carrick.
Oh, Carrick,
So
he's under contract, right? One more year?
Yes. Sam Carrick's on contract for another year. I think he's just making just over $1 million. So that's of absolute value keeping him in there as a fourth line center. But still, I mean, it's great that we can, like you were saying, Mark, we can still have these discussions right now just to really keep the momentum going. And just like I was also saying, knowing the fact that somebody like Jarmo is going to be the guy like making the decisions here, and he's a man of action, and you just hope to see something come to fruition there. So
something's going to happen. Something's definitely going to happen. But even if, let's just say nothing happens, but, you know, we've still got to add people. You know, I consider Kulik coming back is adding someone.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Even though it's not,
he was supposed to be a first line center. He was going to be the first line center. Yeah,
and even Carrick, you know, who got hurt in the playoffs. So that, to me, that's adding people. You know, forget about him. You forgot about Kulik. I mean, I forgot about him because he wasn't on. You know, he was on a team, but he
and
wasn't.
he's inexpensive too.
He played a dozen games,
right?
Yeah,
So I mean,
it's not a lot.
I'm pretty sure Yarmo is going to do something, and it's not going to be the exact team, but
no.
Adding Kulik back in and adding Carrick in, and you're going to have to get moved. Somebody's going to have to move. Yeah. And the younger guys coming in, someone will have to be gone, and whether that's just releasing guys, you can't just release guys or buyouts or whatever. But I think Yarmo's going to trade something. It might not be the Robert Thomas deal, but adding Kulik is adding someone, and Carrick is adding someone.
And here's the other thing too. I talked about UPL briefly. I mean, we still have Alex Lyon under contract for another year, but like, who's to say he doesn't trade for a goalie? You have all these pundits like Jeff Merrick saying like, oh, the Sabres should trade for Connor Hellebuck, or got others saying maybe one of those Minnesota goaltenders.
Right.
But just like, and then there's maybe some potential chatter just because there's a connection to Sergei Bobrovsky for his time in Columbus when Yarmo was there. Like, does something like that come into play? So, so much on the line here.
I think so. I mean, I know, Lindy talked about the goalie situation, and we made it work. We like it. I don't think he actually did like it. I mean, it worked out, and
it worked out because all of them got hurt, literally.
Right. I don't think that he actually did like it. But I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. Instead of going and getting the Robert Thomases or the Dylan Larkins, maybe it's the goalie route. That's the big move.
I got two questions for you guys, and I actually got to hop off. I'm doing some traveling tonight, unfortunately. I'd love to stay on. But just some like lightning bolt type of questions, I think that the fans would really like to hear. So Mark, love to hear, and Chris too, your opinions. We talked about the goalie situation. Obviously, we talked about this player in particular. Love to hear your guys' thoughts on two topics. Number one, is Devin Levi out of here? And number two, what do you guys think about the future of? We mentioned one of these RFAs that was the centerpiece of a big trade, as we know last year. What does the future hold for Michael Kesselring?
Mark, you go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Levi wants out. I think once they signed,
can you blame him?
Right. Yeah. Once they signed Ellis, I think it was like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Right.
Which, I mean, he wants to prove himself and have a career. So, I mean, I don't think there's nothing wrong with him wanting out. So I think that could be part of something. Again, whether it's the center route or another goalie route, that part I'm not sure of. Kesselring, I mean, I don't know. I know that Lindy likes him, right? And so, I don't know how him and Yarmo feel about that. I agree with some of the guys on the radio that said the Logan Stanley thing was because they wanted to get ready for Tampa. That narrative there, and obviously that never came out. But I would think Kesselring stays. Now, is he still upset because he wasn't playing at all? That's up. Does he not want to stay? That I don't know. But I think they still want him. And I'd say Levi was probably gone.
I would agree with the Levi take. And the thing with Kesselring, like if they brought him back, like just because obviously injuries derailed him this year, and he knows that, the team knows that. If they're gonna bring him back, like you can get him back cheap. Like he wouldn't be more than like $1 to $2 million at most. And if he's one of your third pair guys, he already showed that he can do well in that role. Like he's not counted on to be the guy. And if you're keeping this top four defensemen in place, you could also, in theory, maybe bring back one of the guys like Logan Stanley or Luke Shen or somebody again, because those guys are also up as well. Because I mean, a bunch of UFAs and RFAs in play right here, but at the same time, I could easily see Kesselring come back because he'll be inexpensive and he's under team control too, just because he is an RFA.
Right.
Love that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna continue to watch. I know Mark and Chris Maz, you guys will take it home.
Oh yeah.
I gotta go take the train. I gotta go take shout out to Amtrak. I know, was it Talbot?
Ryan Talbot and Matt Perino. Yes.
I gotta go take the train to Greenville, South Carolina, to visit our folks up there.
Nice,
shout out to them. But yeah, boys, it's a pleasure, Mark. definitely
right,
have you on again.
yeah.
I have no doubts. I wish I could stay on, but I got to
Yeah,
drive about
thank
an hour. Atlanta. I live pretty far from downtown Atlanta. I'm in like the
well,
northern burbs. So
enjoy.
all right, boys.
All right, Shawnee V.
All right, talk to you guys later.
Yep.
Take care. Safe travels. All right. With that, that'll be a good segue into a word from our sponsors, and that's DraftKings Sportsbook. The Stanley Cup playoffs are here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has a new customer offer. When the ice gets coldest, the best players in the world show you exactly who they are. Playoff warriors turn it up round by round, and we're in the final round being the Stanley Cup Finals. DraftKings turns it up with them for the first round all the way to the Stanley Cup Final. Player props, bet them live. From the opening faceoff to the final horn, every moment matters. And new DraftKings customers, bet just $5 and you'll get $100 in bonus bets instantly. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN so you're ready for that moment. That's code THPN. Turn $5 into $100 in bonus bets instantly. And that is in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. And the disclaimer, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-MY-RESET. New York, call 8778. HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. 21 plus in most states. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. And with that, let's get back right into our regularly scheduled programming. So, Mark, with that, I was kind of alluding to this a little bit before as well, but the Stanley Cup final is, again, obviously going on as we speak. And we were talking a bit off camera just about our initial thoughts about the two teams here in place. And I posed this to you earlier about Carolina and how, yes, 20 years ago was when that famed 05-06 Sabres squad went down in Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals just due to just a depleted decor and everybody just kind of reaching their limit. But I was kind of just saying the sentiment, saying like for all the people that are having like this kind of like, oh, Carolina, I can't stand them. It was just like, I'm at the point, and I was saying this to you, like it's been 20 years. Their market, like they're trying to do really well for hockey in their area. Again, maybe it's just me being biased because now I live only 2 hours from Raleigh. I mean, I'm in Caps country myself, of course, too. But like, I'm to the point where like I'm over that loss, of course. Like I was in high school when it happened. So like I remember it very vividly, of course, because that was the year after the lockout. Everybody got drawn back in. But still, I'm to the point where like I wouldn't like totally hate it if they won, because like if you're looking at it from a pure hockey standpoint, Rod Brindamore, like he's worked hard. He's gotten the team to at least the Eastern Conference Final for a number of years now, finally getting them over the hump into the Cup this year. I mean, I got a couple friends that are Hurricanes fans, so I could see like the sentiment for this team. Again, I understand that might come off as blasphemous to others for those in the Sabres fandom or just in the Western New York area. But then you also have Vegas. And like, if you are really somebody who is wanting to see Toronto in misery, seeing Mitch Marner doing what he's doing right now in this entire playoffs is just like, it's shocking that he might be the one to hoist the Conn Smythe of more than anything. But Mark, what are your thoughts on the Stanley Cup at this point? I mean, we have a 2-0 Vegas lead going into the second intermission. But yeah, what are your thoughts so far about who you like so far? Just the thoughts on the teams. Obviously, many people might barf at the thought of Vegas Carolina final, but still, give me your takes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the Carolina thing 20 years ago, like you said, like over it. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate him because of that. You know, I don't not want to see him win because of the 05-06 stuff. You know, I wanted to see what the Sabres could do against them. I wanted to see what that would look like. I thought it would be a really good series. So I was disappointed that you didn't get a chance to see, you know, what the Sabres would look like against them. And so I guess mostly I'm disappointed in that, because, you know, they're the best team and the number one seed. So you want to see what your team would look like against them. Yeah, I mean, I like what they do. They're a great team, and I wouldn't say they're a lot of fun to watch, but they're a good team to watch. The Vegas thing, I didn't follow them that closely during the year. Mostly once the playoffs started, it was not that they shouldn't have been in the playoffs, but they weren't high flying, coming in as a top seed and
right. They stumbled getting in, and the biggest thing going into the playoffs was if they were in the Eastern Conference, they wouldn't have even made it at all.
They wouldn't have even made it, and then that whole thing that they shouldn't even would have been there if they're in the Eastern Conference, and then they're probably going to get Colorado's so good, and then they just keep winning, so like they're obviously good. I don't think they were just coasting through the regular season. Obviously they got their game back at the right time, but I liked game one. The game two right now is good hockey. It's a good watch, and I don't know if I would be upset if one team or the other team won. I'm always that fan. It's like I want to see good games. I am games.
Completely in agreement with you there. When it comes to the Stanley Cup, obviously the Sabres haven't been there since 1999, or even just in the playoffs for that matter for we already know 15 years. But I like the Stanley Cup more than I like the actual Super Bowl. I know maybe that's just like a homer take, of course, or maybe just because of where we grew up or just how hockey was important to us and the way we watched it growing up. But I think there's, again, no better playoffs in all of sports. I mean, it's cool that the NBA playoffs go concurrently as well, so you can kind of get one of each if you're into that as well. But, I mean, if there's like just a good series, especially when there's a game 7, I thought a couple years ago when it was Florida versus Edmonton and the entire sports world got to watch that game 7. And it came down to the wire, too. It was only a 2-1 game. Right. And it's just like I thought that was a spectacular way to go for that. And obviously you didn't get as much of that last year because the Panthers handled the Oilers. But if things are going the way they're going right now, Vegas could take a 2-0 stranglehold, and both of those wins are on the road too.
Right.
So
that'd be nuts. I mean, going in, it's like, all right, I think everybody thought Carolina would stumble a little bit with that big layoff before the Montreal series. Obviously, they didn't. I mean, Vegas goes up 2-0. Man, I mean, again, they just keep winning, and if they go on to win the series again, I think the people in Buffalo would be a little bit upset about that because they get 2 cups. They weren't even that good this year. They wouldn't even have made it if they were in the Eastern Conference. And
plus, you got the whole Eichel nonsense all over again.
Yeah, the Eichel nonsense over. I mean, the only one would be what you said earlier about the whole Marner thing. Then it would take away the Ryan O'Reilly winning the Conn Smythe, sting a little bit. We're not the only team that got rid of somebody, and the next year they won the Conn Smythe. So that would help a little bit with that. But again, it goes back to just I want to see good games.
Could not agree more with that there. So, I mean, the way things are looking right now, like Vegas is definitely going to be in the driver's seat. But I mean, crazier things have happened. I mean, same thing from a couple years ago. Edmonton was down 3-1 and they made it all the way to a game 7. They just ran out of gas literally in that game. You watched it happen. Connor McDavid looked like he had cement in his skates for those last 2 or 3 minutes of the game. But I mean, hey, as long as there's good hockey, I am there to watch it, of course. But just to kind of wrap things up here, I know we talked about a little bit of this in prep for the show. But again, you told me yourself, you've coached football for a number of years. And obviously, again, being Western New York adjacent, got to talk some Bills, too. And again, I was talking about a good deal of this with Ryan Thomas again last night. But just what are just some initial thoughts that you have on the Bills this year? You could maybe even talk about just the playoff loss again to Denver, the firing of Sean McDermott, the hiring of Joe Brady, just some of the free agents and draft picks that they've gotten this year, maybe the trade for DJ Moore. What is like an immediate takeaway you have for the Bills this year? And do you see them as an actual contender, despite all the changes that have had taken place for them here? Doesn't need to be long-winded or even touching on every single one of those, but what is just like your immediate gut feeling about them, just to kind of get a little conversation starter on them?
No, yeah, it's nice because I don't spend a lot of time tweeting during the Bills games, but I mean I do sometimes here and there, and then it's funny because I'll get a lot of lot of replies, hey, just stick to hockey, pal. And it's funny because I've been coaching football for high school and college football. I think this is my 28th year.
That's impressive.
Football. So yeah, I mean, I'm a football guy first, and so I mean, my thoughts are, Josh Allen's going to be Josh Allen. And it's going to be interesting to see what the offense, or the difference the offense looks like with Joe Brady, not only as the offensive coordinator, but as the head coach now making all the decisions. And, people had questions about that, whether he was, handcuffed a little bit with McDermott. So it's going to be interesting to see. And I mean, I think I'm more excited, obviously it's exciting to see Josh Allen play. But I think as a defensive coordinator myself, I'm really excited to see what the defense is going to look like. And, it's something that this defense is something the Bills fans haven't seen in a long time. It's not just a straight up 4-3, cover 2 look. There's going to be people coming from all over the place. And the idea of the Jim Leonard defense of, I think the term he used was, some of these guys are positionless, and he doesn't like put a position on guys. And I think that's, to me, again, I loving the X's and O's in that, and designing defenses and designing blitzes. That's going to be really exciting for me to see how that works out, and where guys are coming from, and what they look like on defense.
So I completely agree, just because, again, the Bills are going to score points. Like you said, the Josh Allen is at the helm. I mean, adding DJ Moore to the mix, I mean, maybe you could make an argument for Skylar Bell being the 4th round selection this year, and adding more to that wide receiver room too. They're obviously still going to put points on the board. They have the rushing king, James Cook, still in the backfield, along with the backfield as a whole, not really changing much, with Ray Davis and Ty Johnson still coming back for another season. It really just boils down to the defense. Like, yes, the offense has had the opportunity to close the game out the last few years in the playoffs, like whether it was the Cooks, did he catch it, or was it a pick controversy? Year before with the Kincaid bobble, and the year before that with the Tyler Bass miss, but prior to that with the Diggs miscatch against Kansas City too. So, I mean, the Bills are still, they're going to put points up on the board. I mean, it really, to them, like, and I was saying this last night on Ryan Thomas's show, like, to me, the benchmark for them will be the AFC Championship game. If they can at least reach that, because that'll at least be like the highest mark the Sean McDermott teams got to, twice, of course. But I mean, if they really want to break through, and if this is going to be the change that was needed, especially at the head coaching position, they have to at least make that. I mean, that might be an unreasonable expectation. It might not even be perfect. They might not even get that far. I mean, New England still isn't going anywhere in this division either.
No, I think that, like I said before, about interesting to see what Joe Brady does. I would think he's the type of guy who, you talked about the offense having the opportunity to win those games in the last, the last drives or whatever. I would think Joe Brady is in the mindset of, I don't even want it to get to that point. I don't want it to get to that point. We're going to be up by that. I think maybe he may think that they kind of, played safe sometimes. And I would think that's how he's thinking, that they were playing safe, where they should have gone for the kill earlier and not having it come down to those last drives.
Right. Steve Noble, thanks again for tuning in, friend. But he says, this is the most clueless I have entered a season. Even Brady is a wild card because we have never seen him under the thumb of, or in this case, not under the thumb of McDermott. This year, a box of chocolates for me. I like that analogy with the whole Forrest Gump take right there. But yeah, it makes sense. I mean, how aggressive will he be? Is he going to harken back to his days as the LSU passing game coordinator for that offense? Is he going to be all gas, no brakes? Like you were saying there, Mark, is he really going to put the pedal to the metal, throttle them when they can on offense? I mean, is Allen going to throw for 40 plus times a game? Or is that going to be still more of a nuanced and balanced attack with a Cook still in the backfield? I mean, you can't not use him or the other guys as weapons.
Right. I mean, I think I think some people say open it up means, 40 times a game. I don't think it's that. It's like I said, when you have the chance to put somebody away, whether that's going for it on fourth down, or when you have a chance, it could be in the third quarter, it could be in the second quarter. When you have a chance to put somebody away, you put them away, and you don't give them a chance to hang around. So I think that's going to be interesting to see, and I think that he has that. He has that mentality, and I think he thinks that they did let up and they let people get back into it, and then, well, we have Josh, and he's gonna bring us back when you didn't really need to let the other team come back, and you should have put him away.
For sure. I mean, and that's been a problem for the teams in the last few years, and like that, and like having like a mid-season lull in like late October, early November, where they lose like a skid of like 2 or like maybe 3 out of 4 games, and like just adding up a few losses in the loss column there. It happened year after year. So like seeing his approach, his approach being Joe Brady's, of course. Like I'm very curious, like just how different they are going to look, how they're going to act, what their demeanor is going to be, like even just from like a locker room standpoint. Like you see a lot of media out there just saying like the vibes just feel like a little bit more looser in a sense. Like, and say what you will about Sean McDermott, he really buttoned the place up, especially after coming after Rex Ryan, just doing what he did to the team. I mean, McDermott was needed for what he was at that point in time, but I mean, many people will agree that like a new message was needed. I mean, I thought like he was done dirty as McDermott was let go, but at the same time, I don't know. It's definitely I'd say a welcome change. And Steve again saying the biggest thing we'll see is how much McDermott did control the pulse of the team on the field. Right. We do not know, but again, we're gonna find out.
We're gonna find out. No one's gonna say it. No one's gonna mention anything of it. But you'll be able to see. You'll be able to see it.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, I would have felt remiss to not get a couple Bills thoughts in there just as we're wrapping things up here. But Mark, again, absolute pleasure having you on the show here. Give the folks a plug where they can find you, find what you got maybe cooking up, maybe down the pipeline here, just as we're in off-season mode. But yeah, let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, on Twitter, it has on there at Sabres Fun Stats. Every once in a while, I try to get in on the Instagram thing. I haven't really spent a lot of time trying to get in on it. I'll figure that one out at some other time. But right now, I usually do stuff in the off season. Right now, we're going through the Sabres iconic photos bracket. Actually, just finishing up the first round tonight. I think it's.
I think I participated in a couple of those polls already. So those are pretty good. I think one of them was like the last photo in the odd with LaFontaine.
Yeah, his the last goal in the odd. I know it wasn't not the last goal in a game, but it was the during the ceremony they did at the odd, and he's the last goal. I mean, that one to me stings a little bit because I always thought it should be Gilbert taking the ceremonial last goal, but that's a different argument for a different time. But yeah, right now it's the Derek Plant overtime goal over the Senators.
Oh, that's a great one. The Legion of Doom goal.
Right. That one, and I've had I got a lot of help from Bill Whippert, the Sabres photographer.
Oh, that's excellent.
And he actually sent me some of the the actual photos of not just ones the blurry ones you could find somewhere on the internet. So he helped me out a lot with those and giving credit to some of the other some of the other photographers. So right now
he'll have a catalog of 40 plus years at least of photos.
Oh yeah. I mean he helped me out with a lot of those, and so yeah, we're finishing up the first round. Tomorrow night we'll finish that up, and I'll hopefully be starting the second round, but leaving for our yearly golf weekend with some old friends. So leaving early tomorrow morning. So I'm not sure if I'll be in any shape to to put some of those on there, but I'll try to get the next round going. But yeah, I do a couple of those different things in the off season, just to kind of keep everyone in line and interested, and I have a couple more that don't have them nailed down yet. But we'll be doing some more of those in the future.
Hey, well, we're looking forward to that. Again, those are like the photos that you always pull up are just always like just absolute gems, and just more of that needs to be out there, especially for like people that are just like big on like the history of the Sabres and things like that too. Like that's not stuff that you're going to see every single day, because obviously like the current like generations and iterations of the team, like you're still going to see like your Dahleens, your Tage Thompsons, or even just not far removed, like your Eichels, your Reinhardts, things of that nature. So it's great to see a lot of like the vintage stuff from the 70s, 80s, and even some of the 90s teams when someone like me was starting to get into the team as well. But just keep up the great work, Mark. It is awesome stuff, and just it is appreciated more than you know.
Yeah, thanks. And it is great to get, I get a lot of replies, a lot of interactions, like, people saying things like, they see a picture of, Jerry Meehan or Jim Schoenfeld or Jim Lorenz or whoever, some of the older guys in the 70s. And I get a lot of replies like, oh man, he was my favorite growing up. And, and I remember going to a game and watching Rick Martin and watching Rene Robert. And like I said, I get a lot of responses, and it's, again, puts a smile on my face when people, share their memories of when they grew up and watching some of those guys in the 70s and in the 80s, that, a lot of the early 70s guys that I didn't get to see. But again, that hopefully bringing back a lot of memories for a lot of people and making them smile when, when they see those old Sabre stuff.
Hey, love to hear it, folks. So find Mark at Sabres Fun Stats there. For us, that'll do it this week. To our over 600 viewers, thank you so much for tuning in, of course. Like I was saying, if you are following along on social media, it is great to be back in the saddle, just making some shows and making some content for you guys. Obviously, with the Stanley Cup just kind of bringing things to an end for hockey season, that's not going to change just because, hey, you got the draft, you got free agency right around the corner, and then obviously, you got mandatory minicamp next week, but before you know it, training camp will be here for the Buffalo Bills. So, again, lots of great things on the horizon here. One last quick question from Steve. Jerry Fortin went into the front office in 2021. How big of a part is he for this current Sabres success? Funny thing, I mentioned this on the show the last time we were on, is I met Jerry Fortin as he was coming down the stairs. I had like a funny chance encounter because I was recovering my friend's phone after game 1 against Boston. I was able to head back into the main concourse. And while I was waiting for an usher to bring down the phone, I met Jerry Fortin. And I said, thank you for helping put this team together too, of course. And he was just like, man, it's about time we're finally paying dividends on this. So I would say he's going to be there for a while. I think a lot of the scouting was done by him. So I could see him being in the front office for years to come. So last thought on this, Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I would think so. And he's got a good reputation. So, I mean, Yarmo's already brought in one of his other guys. Right? He's already brought in Bergevin. So,
and then the guy from Columbus.
Right. So I would think that he's going to be around for that. Never know, but that my guess would be that he'd be around for that.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like I said, look for us on the horizon in weeks to come, folks. We are, again, happy to be back in the saddle once more. And for us, that will do it. Let's go, Buffalo.
Thanks, guys.